This morning we rise not merely from sleep, but from silence. We rise carrying prayers that have waited in our chests like unopened letters, hopes written in faith, sealed with patience and addressed to heaven. We come seeking blessings, yes, but also seeking wisdom, because every gift carries weight and every open door casts a shadow as well as light. We have learned, through tears and triumph, that not every blessing arrives gently. Some arrive so heavy they bend our backs. Some arrive so bright they blind our vision. Some arrive so quickly they outrun our character. And so today, in the quiet honesty of morning prayer, we ask not only for blessings, but about them. We pray that God's blessings will not become stumbling blocks on our journey, that what lifts our hands will not trip our feet, that what increases our provision will not decrease our compassion, that what multiplies our influence will not divide our integrity. This is a prayer for balance, a prayer for humility, a prayer for grace that teaches us how to carry what heaven places in our hand. We often pray with open hands and lifted eyes, asking heaven to pour, to fill, to overflow. We ask for more strength, more doors, more favor, more visibility, more provision. We ask because we are human and hope lives naturally in the asking. But wisdom, true wisdom, whispers a quieter prayer beneath the loud request for abundance. It says, Lord, teach me how to hold what you give me without letting it harden my heart or weaken my soul. Because blessings, like rivers, are meant to move. When they stagnate, they begin to smell of entitlement. When they rush too fast without banks of discipline, they erode the ground beneath our feet. A blessing poorly carried can become a burden heavier than the struggle we pray to escape. And so we pray not only for the gift, but for the grace to carry it well. There are blessings that arrive like sunlight, gentle, warming, almost unnoticed until you realize how cold it once was. And there are blessings that arrive like thunder, sudden, loud, shaking the furniture of your life. Both require wisdom. Sunlight can fade the colors if you stay exposed too long, and thunder can frighten you into forgetting how to listen. Wisdom teaches us when to receive, when to rest, when to move, and when to kneel in gratitude rather than stand in pride. We have seen it before, even if we do not say it out loud. We have watched people pray their way out of obscurity only to lose themselves in the noise of attention. We have watched prayers for provision turn into obsessions with possession. We have watched answered prayers become unanswered responsibilities, not because God was careless, but because wisdom was not cultivated alongside desire. Wisdom is the muscle that helps the soul lift heavy blessings without tearing itself apart. Without it, success strains character. Without it, influence bends integrity. Without it, abundance makes a person forget the taste of daily bread and the miracle of just enough. So in the morning light, when the world is still honest and the heart is less defended, we pray for wisdom, not brilliance, not cleverness, but the kind of wisdom that knows when to say no, even when the opportunity says yes. Carrying blessings well means remembering where you were when you asked for them, remembering the nights when hope was thin and faith had to whisper to survive, remembering that the ground you now stand on was once prayed over with tears. Wisdom keeps memory alive, so gratitude does not die of neglect. It reminds us that what we have was once something we begged for, and what we begged for should never become something we take for granted. Wisdom also teaches pacing. Not every blessing must be used immediately. Not every door must be rushed through. Some gifts need time to breathe, to mature, to teach us patience before they teach us power. A rushed blessing can outgrow our emotional bones. A hurried miracle can expose cracks. We never allowed God to heal. Wisdom says walk even when you could run. Learn the weight of what you're carrying. There is a quiet dignity in carrying blessings with humility. It shows up in how we speak to those who have less, in how we listen instead of lecture, in how we remember that elevation does not cancel equality. Wisdom bows even when success stands tall. It understands that blessings are not trophies to display, but tools to serve. To carry blessings well is also to recognize that they come with responsibility. Every answered prayer enlarges the circle of accountability. What we receive is tied to who we must become. Wisdom helps us ask hard questions of ourselves. Am I becoming kinder or just busier? Am I becoming more generous or just more protected? Am I becoming more prayerful or just more confident in my own ability? Because confidence without wisdom is loud, but wisdom with confidence is steady. One draws attention, the other builds legacy. Wisdom keeps us from confusing blessings with approval. Everything that opens is not an endorsement of our ego. Everything that succeeds is not proof of moral superiority. Sometimes blessings are tests dressed as rewards. Sometimes abundance asks, will you remember who you are when you no longer need to struggle to survive? To carry blessings well means staying teachable. Wisdom knows it does not know everything. It keeps a learner's posture even in high places. It listens for correction even when applause is loud. It understands that growth does not end at breakthrough, it begins there. There is also wisdom in knowing when to lay a blessing down. Not every gift is meant to be carried forever. Some blessings are seasonal, some are transitional, some are bridges and not destinations. Wisdom helps us release what no longer aligns with God's direction, even if it once aligned with our prayers. It teaches us that clinging too tightly to yesterday's blessing can block today's assignment. We pray for wisdom because blessings have weight, and weight requires balance. Without balance, even gold can pull a person under. Wisdom keeps us centered, rooted, grounded in the truth that we are stewards, not owners. That everything given can also be given again. If pride makes us forget who gave it first. And so this morning we slow our prayers, we soften our voices, we do not rush heaven with demands. We ask instead for the quiet strength to carry blessings with grace, to wear success lightly, to hold abundance with open hands, to let gratitude be our language and humility our posture. We pray for wisdom that keeps us human in moments of elevation and holy in moments of abundance. Wisdom that reminds us to look back and help others up. Wisdom that teaches us to kneel even when we could stand taller than most. Because the greatest blessing is not what we receive, it is who we remain while carrying it. And may God in His mercy give us wisdom strong enough to hold every blessing without losing our soul. When blessings arrive, they arrive like rivers breaking through winter ice, like sunlight spilling through the cracks in a tired room, like a melody you almost forgot how to hum. And in those moments when life seems to open its arms wide, there is a temptation that is as quiet as it is dangerous. The temptation is pride. The temptation is to believe that the favor, the opportunity, the success belongs to us because we earned it, because we deserved it, because the world must now acknowledge our worth. And it is in these moments, these seasons of increase, that we must guard humility as fiercely as we guard our breath, for humility is the measure of a soul's true growth. Blessings can swell like the tide. They can lift a person from poverty to plenty, from obscurity to recognition, from struggle to ease. But if humility is not present, they can also lift a person out of touch with truth. They can make the heart forget the journey it took to reach this place. Forget the hands that held it up when it stumbled. Forget the prayers that carried it through the darkness. And the danger is subtle. Pride does not shout, it whispers. It says, look at what you've done. Look at what you've achieved. You are enough. And in hearing that whisper, the soul may begin to lean on itself instead of on God. Guarding humility is not about denying your success. It is not about shrinking yourself to make others comfortable. It is about remembering where you came from even as you walk into your new landscape. It is about holding your blessings lightly, knowing that they are a gift, not a guarantee. It is about understanding that increase is not a reward for perfection, but a call to higher responsibility, a summons to greater service. We pray for humility in seasons of increase, because without it, abundance can blind us. Without it, recognition can seduce us into arrogance. Without it, influence can isolate us from the very people we were meant to serve. Humility is the tether that keeps the heart anchored when the winds of praise blow fierce and hot. It is the mirror that reflects our own smallness in the vastness of God's plan, reminding us that we are vessels, not sources. In these seasons, life will tempt us to compare ourselves to others, to measure our value in gold and applause rather than in character and service. Humility is the shield against such comparison. It whispers, your journey is yours. Your blessings are yours, but your heart belongs to something greater. Humility prevents the mind from becoming a marketplace where ego trades in superiority, and it reminds the soul that dignity does not demand dominance, that respect does not require conquest. There is a sacredness to staying small in spirit, even when the world lifts us high. Humility keeps us approachable, keeps us teachable, keeps our hands open to receive and give simultaneously. It allows us to celebrate success without letting it consume the spirit. It teaches us to listen more than we speak, to serve more than we command, to love more than we judge. And in guarding humility, we guard the essence of our humanity, even when the heavens are shouting our names. It is important to recognize that humility is not weakness. It is not submission to mediocrity. It is the quiet power that sustains greatness without breaking the soul. It is the knowledge that one can rise without stepping over others, that one can shine without eclipsing, that one can possess blessings without possessing hearts. Humility holds space for grace to flow through, ensuring that increase becomes a conduit for good, not a barrier to compassion. In seasons of increase, the world will tempt you to forget the lessons learned in seasons of scarcity. It will try to sell you the illusion that self-sufficiency equals divine favor, that wealth equals worth, that recognition equals righteousness. Humility acts as a compass, pointing the soul back to truth, that our value is not in what we accumulate, but in how we hold what we are given. That our measure is not in titles or treasures, but in love, integrity, and the courage to remain authentic. To guard humility is to guard the very lens through which we see the world. It keeps the eyes clear, the mind open, and the heart tender. It prevents blessings from becoming burdens, from isolating us from community, from turning gratitude into entitlement. Humility allows us to walk through life with reverence, even when applause surrounds us, knowing that every step forward is paved not solely by our effort, but by the divine hand that guides us. The ancestors who prayed for us, the unseen forces that conspired in favor of our journey. In humility, there is a recognition that every blessing carries responsibility. Increase is a call to stewardship. Growth is an invitation to serve. Opportunities are entrusted not only for personal gain, but for the elevation of others. Without humility, we forget that with every blessing comes accountability, that our position is not merely for comfort, but for contribution. Guarding humility ensures that we wield our influence with care, that we offer our abundance with empathy, and that we live in such a way that our success becomes a bridge for others to cross. The practice of humility in seasons of increase is also an exercise in gratitude. Gratitude is the breath of the soul that keeps us connected to the source of all blessings. To remain humble is to acknowledge that even the gifts we cherish most are not solely our doing. It is to understand that life's harvests are a mixture of effort, grace, timing, and mercy. Humility allows us to give thanks not just in moments of scarcity, but in moments of plenty, ensuring that we do not forget the sacred thread that connects all things, the divine presence that sustains us even when the world bows to our success. We must also guard humility by surrounding ourselves with voices that speak truth. Pride flourishes in isolation. Humility thrives in community. Seek those who remind you of who you are at your core, who challenge your ego gently, who celebrate your victories without flattery. Listen to the stories of others, the struggles of the unseen, the wisdom of those who have walked before you. In their counsel, humility is strengthened, and the soul remains anchored even in the storms of elevation. And let us not overlook the inner vigilance required to guard humility. It is a daily, almost minute-by-minute practice. Pride can creep in on quiet feet, dressed as confidence, dressed as wisdom, dressed as self-assurance. Humility must be cultivated, nurtured, and defended. It is the quiet discipline of reflecting on one's own motives, of examining intentions before actions, of asking, am I seeking to serve or to be seen? Am I seeking to bless or to boast? Such questions are the guardrails that prevent blessings from transforming into stumbling blocks. Ultimately, guarding humility in seasons of increase is a sacred dance between receiving and remembering, between celebrating and serving, between rising and bowing. It is the art of staying fully human while standing in the glow of favor. It is the courage to let go of ego even when the world applauds, the wisdom to yield to grace even when power is tempting, the strength to walk gently even when the path ahead is wide and open. And so we pray in the quiet of the morning and in the fullness of our hearts that we may remain humble in our victories, that we may carry blessings lightly with gratitude and grace, that we may rise without arrogance, shine without eclipsing, and walk through seasons of increase with the awareness that every favor is a trust, every gift a responsibility, and every blessing a sacred opportunity to remain true, to remain kind, and to remain ever connected to the source of all that is good. Humility is the companion that walks beside abundance, the mirror that reflects character through success, the gentle voice reminding us that we are never greater than the God who gives, never stronger than the love that sustains, and never richer than the spirit that carries our hearts beyond the measure of what eyes can see. In guarding humility, we guard the soul itself, and in that guarding we discover that true greatness is not in the heights we reach, but in the grace with which we reach them. There is a quiet danger in abundance. There is a subtle peril in prosperity. There is a temptation in blessing that no one speaks of at the pulpit, that no one warns you of in quiet corridors of faith, that what is given to lift you may, if you are not vigilant, drift you away from the one who gave it. Blessings are meant to draw us closer to God, to deepen our prayer, to teach us the sacred rhythm of dependence and trust. But without careful tending, without prayerful reflection, without the humility that keeps the heart tethered, blessings can become distractions, and in their splendor we can lose the source. We pray in the morning light, hands folded and eyes half closed, that God's gifts, be they abundance, favor, recognition, or provision, will never build walls between our hearts and the heavens. For it is not the blessing itself that can distance us, but the way we carry it. A gift, if carried with pride, if celebrated without gratitude, if wielded without reflection, becomes like a stone placed between the soul and God. It separates, it blinds. It tempts us into self-reliance, into the dangerous illusion that the world revolves around our achievement rather than around the divine plan. Consider the life of one who has received much. The tables are full, the rooms are bright, the voices applaud. Yet if the heart forgets the prayer that brought the blessing, if the eyes forget to look upward even when they can see far, then the very gift meant to honor God may become an idol. Humility is the chain that binds the blessing to its origin. Prayer is the rope that connects the heart to the source. Gratitude is the mirror that reflects God in every gift, ensuring that abundance does not become arrogance, that favor does not become folly. The danger is not in God's generosity. The danger is in our response. We can be given wealth and forget the poor. We can be given influence and forget the powerless. We can be given recognition and forget the humble hand that prayed for us. Every blessing carries a sacred responsibility to honor God, to honor humanity, and to honor ourselves in our integrity. When we fail in that responsibility, blessings lose their purpose. They no longer shine as signs of God's care. They become tests of the heart, mirrors of our own vanity. Ensuring that blessings do not distance us from God is a daily, almost minute-by-minute practice. It is a vigilance that whispers through our routines. It asks questions that are simple but profound. Am I remembering the one who gave this? Am I using this blessing to glorify or to gratify? Am I lifting others as I rise? Or am I building a pedestal beneath my pride? In these questions lies the secret to remaining tethered to God, even when the world stretches its arms in admiration. Blessings can sometimes arrive so suddenly, so overwhelmingly, that the soul can be caught unprepared. And when we are unprepared, we are vulnerable to the illusion of self-sufficiency. We begin to believe that our wisdom brought us this position, that our strength earned this favor, that our talent alone has carried us to this height. And in that belief we drift. We distance ourselves. The source recedes from our consciousness, not because God has abandoned us, but because our hearts have wandered. Prayer is the remedy. Prayer is the compass. Prayer is the quiet song that keeps us aligned with God's intention. Even in seasons of increase, even when doors open and opportunities multiply, even when recognition knocks at the door, the soul must bend in prayer. Not only in gratitude for what has come, but in surrender to what is yet to come. Not only in celebration of success, but in acknowledgement that every breath, every moment, every gift is a divine trust. When we pray that our blessings do not distance us from God, we also cultivate discernment. Discernment is the lens that allows us to see the purpose behind each gift. Discernment is the lens that reminds us that abundance is not a reward for ego, but a tool for service. Discernment is the lens that protects us from vanity, excess, and self-deception. With discernment, we carry each blessing carefully, with awareness that what lifts us in one moment may test our faith in the next. To remain close to God amidst blessing requires humility in every action. Humility whispers in moments of applause. This is not yours alone, this is given. This is entrusted. This is borrowed from heaven. Humility reminds us that influence is not dominion, that wealth is not ownership, that recognition is not validation. It keeps the heart soft, the mind teachable, the soul pliable. And in that humility, blessings fulfill their highest purpose, to draw us nearer to God rather than farther away. Blessings can also create distance through distraction. When life becomes full with success, we fill our hours with management strategy and attention to the material. We forget the stillness, the quiet, the reflection that feeds the soul. We forget to sit in the presence of God, to listen for the whispers that shaped our path, to recognize the unseen hands that guided our steps. Distance grows in silence as much as in pride. And so, guarding our relationship with God requires intentionality, times of reflection, times of fasting from noise, times of listening, times of kneeling, even when our hearts are lifted with joy. There is a balance to be maintained to enjoy the blessings without becoming ensnared by them. The heart must learn that receiving is not the same as possessing, that having is not the same as ruling, that opportunity is not the same as entitlement. Every gift is a trust, and with trust comes accountability. And accountability reminds us that distance from God is never caused by blessing itself, but by the way we respond to it. Ensuring blessings do not distance us from God also involves community. Surrounding ourselves with people who speak truth into our lives keeps perspective alive. Honest counsel, gentle correction, and shared prayer prevent us from floating in the intoxication of favor. They remind us that we are not isolated islands, that our journey is intertwined with others, that the source of all blessings is not just God above, but the people around us who mirror our humanity, our fallibility, and our need for grace. We pray that God will make our hearts spacious enough to receive blessings without closing in on others. We pray that success will widen our empathy rather than narrow our vision. We pray that abundance will increase generosity rather than greed. We pray that influence will be exercised with care, never cruelty. We pray that every gift will point us back to God, even as the world admires what we have been given. The discipline required to remain close to God in seasons of blessing is not always easy. There will be moments of temptation, moments when pride tugs at the soul, moments when we feel entitled to more than we have been given. There will be moments when comparison whispers its poisonous words, when envy of others distorts gratitude, when the applause of people drowns out the quiet voice of God. And yet, it is precisely in those moments that prayer, reflection, and humility must anchor us. A blessing is a river. It can nourish, it can refresh, it can give life. But if we build walls of ego along its banks, if we dam it with pride, if we misdirect its flow, it can stagnate, it can overflow, it can destroy. God's blessings are meant to flow through us, through our hands, through our hearts, back into the world. The closer we stay to God, the clearer and stronger that flow becomes. The farther we drift from God, the murkier and more dangerous that river becomes. In every morning prayer, in every moment of gratitude, we can ask for guidance. Lord, help me carry what you have given without losing you. Help me receive favor without forgetting the one who favors me. Help me walk in abundance without walking away from you. These are not prayers of limitation. They are prayers of wisdom. They are prayers of alignment. They are prayers that ensure the blessings meant to lift us higher do not create distance from the hand that lifts. And so we move through our days receiving and giving, celebrating and serving, achieving and kneeling, always aware that the blessings we hold are not ours alone. They are entrusted to us, and with entrustment comes responsibility to God, responsibility to others, responsibility to the integrity of our own hearts. To safeguard that responsibility is to safeguard the soul, to safeguard purpose, to safeguard the very connection that makes blessings sacred. In the end, the measure of a blessing is not in the applause it brings, the wealth it delivers, or the comfort it provides. The measure of a blessing is in its capacity to draw us nearer to God. If a gift lifts us but leaves God distant, it has failed its divine purpose. But if a gift lifts us and strengthens our faith, deepens our compassion, and widens our love, it has fulfilled its sacred calling. We pray for this every day, that our blessings may be mirrors of God's mercy, not monuments of our own making, that our abundance may be a bridge to the divine, not a wall against it, that our favor may be a channel of grace, not a source of distraction. And in that prayer we find the wisdom, the vigilance, and the humility to ensure that no blessing, no matter how large, no matter how luminous, will ever distance us from the one whose love is the wellspring of all. Blessings are gifts, but like all gifts, they carry with them a responsibility far greater than the joy they bring. We receive them with gratitude, yes, but also with caution, for what the world celebrates as success can quietly transform into an idol if we are not vigilant. And the danger is subtle. It does not always roar. It whispers in the still moments, "You deserve this. You earned this. You made this happen." And if the heart is unguarded, if humility sleeps and pride awakens, blessings, those very tokens of God's mercy, can become the golden calves of our own design. An idol is anything we hold above the one who gives. It is not always a statue carved of stone or wood. It can be an idea, a title, a bank balance, a relationship, even a gift we once prayed for. Blessings meant to lift the spirit and expand the soul can quietly occupy the throne reserved for God. And when that happens, they cease to serve us and begin to rule over us. They become the measure of our worth rather than the reflection of divine favor. We pray then that God will keep our hearts vigilant. We pray that the joy of receiving will never overpower the discipline of remembering, that the smile of success will never replace the bow of gratitude, that the applause of the world will never drown out the still, small voice of the Almighty who gave it all. It is not wrong to celebrate blessings. It is wrong to let celebration become devotion. It is not wrong to rejoice in abundance. It is wrong to allow abundance to command our allegiance. Blessings become idols when we begin to define ourselves by them, when we start to believe that who we are is determined by what we hold, when we own, when we achieve. And the heart forgets the prayers that carried us to this place. The eyes forget the nights of fasting, the mornings of tears, the quiet whispers to God in rooms no one else entered. And in that forgetting, the soul is slowly redirected from the source to the gift itself, from the giver to the thing given. We pray that God will teach us discernment. Discernment to see the difference between honor and pride, between gratitude and possession, between blessing and bondage. Discernment to recognize that every gift comes with a higher purpose beyond the comfort it provides. Discernment to understand that influence is not power to be wielded selfishly, that wealth is not a fortress against the world, that recognition is not a crown to wear above the Creator. Humility is the safeguard against idolization. Humility reminds us that all we have has been entrusted to us, not awarded permanently. Humility reminds us that our hands are open to receive, open to give, and open to release. Humility keeps the heart soft, pliable, aware that blessings are not our identity, they are our tools. And when humility is absent, even the most sacred gifts can harden into walls around the heart, separating us from God, from others, and from the very purpose for which we were blessed. Consider the story of those who had everything the world could offer and yet were spiritually empty. Their houses were full, their tables were full, their closets were full, but their hearts were hollow. They had replaced reverence with reliance on the gift, devotion with dependence on the visible. In their pursuit of more, they lost sight of the one who had already given them enough. Their blessings became burdens. Their gifts became gods. Their increase became a test they were ill prepared to pass. We pray for the wisdom to avoid this trap. We pray that we will see blessings as bridges rather than thrones, as means to serve rather than means to boast, as opportunities to reflect God's love rather than tools to reflect our own image. Blessings are not the end, they are the beginning. They are not the goal, they are the way. And when we allow them to become the goal, when we elevate them above the source, we stumble without knowing it, bowing before our own comfort rather than the Creator's will. To keep blessings from becoming idols, we must cultivate a spirit of gratitude that is active, not passive. Gratitude must be more than words. It must be movement. It must translate into generosity, into service, into acts that remind us of our dependence on God and our connection to others. It must teach us that joy multiplies when it flows outward, not inward. It must remind us that a blessing hoarded is a blessing wasted. Blessings also become idols when they inflate the ego and shrink the spirit. When success convinces us that we are indispensable, that our talent is unmatched, that our vision alone is sufficient, and in these moments we are most vulnerable to the quiet tyranny of our own gifts. We forget that without God's guidance, without prayer, without wisdom, those very talents can fail us, those very gifts can betray us, and those very blessings can become the chains that bind us. We pray for vigilance, the kind of vigilance that watches not only the outside world but the internal landscape of the soul. It is easy to see when someone else has fallen into idolatry. It is harder to see it in ourselves. We must watch for subtle signs: impatience with God's timing, irritation with those who have less, pride in our own achievements, entitlement to what we possess. These are the seedlings of idol worship, small at first but capable of growing into towering trees if left unchecked. Community also serves as a mirror, reflecting back to us where blessings might be displacing God. Surrounding ourselves with voices that speak truth, that remind us of our origins, that celebrate our growth without flattery, keeps our hearts tethered. These voices teach humility, reinforce gratitude, and help us remember that gifts are meant to serve, not to seduce, not to subdue. Prayer is the anchor. In moments of quiet, in the sacred dialogue with God, we reaffirm that our blessings are not our gods. We lay our achievements, our successes, our possessions at God's feet, saying, "All I have is yours, all I am is yours. Let it serve your purpose, not my vanity. Let it lift your name, not my own." This act of surrender transforms gifts from potential idols into instruments of divine intention. It is also essential to remember that blessings come with impermanence. The gold in our hands may be gone tomorrow, the recognition may fade, the opportunity may pass. When we cling to them as if they are eternal, we set ourselves up for idolatry. But when we embrace their temporality, when we acknowledge their fleeting nature, we honor God rather than the gift. We learn to rejoice in what we have today while remaining ready to release it tomorrow, and in that rhythm our hearts remain free, our spirits remain aligned, and our blessings remain servants rather than masters. Keeping blessings from becoming idols is ultimately about perspective. Perspective that understands the gift is only as great as the heart that carries it. Perspective that knows that abundance is not a measure of merit but a call to stewardship. Perspective that places the giver above the gift, the creator above the creation, the soul above the surface. Perspective that recognizes that the world's applause is fleeting, but God's approval is eternal. We pray, therefore, for eyes that see beyond the glitter, for ears that hear beyond the praise, for hearts that feel beyond the comfort. We pray that the beauty of blessings will never blind us to the beauty of God, that the weight of abundance will never crush our humility, that the power of favor will never overshadow our dependence on the one who gives. We pray for discernment, vigilance, and devotion. To walk through life with blessings and without idols is to walk in sacred balance. It is to receive without losing sight, to enjoy without clinging, to rise without forgetting the source of elevation. It is to use what is given to lift others, to reflect God's love in action, and to ensure that no matter how many doors open, no matter how high the river rises, no matter how wide the world applauds, the heart remains in its proper place, kneeling before the giver, grateful, vigilant, and free. Blessings are meant to bless, not to bind. Gifts are meant to guide, not to govern. Success is meant to serve, not to seduce. And when we pray with open hands and vigilant hearts that our blessings will never become idols, we are asking for a sacred protection, the protection of humility, the protection of gratitude, the protection of alignment with God's purpose. For in that protection we find freedom, we find joy, we find the sacred truth that blessings fulfill their highest calling only when they point us back to the one who gave them. Blessings are like seeds. They are tender when they arrive, fragile in their early days and full of promise. Yet a seed alone cannot flourish. It requires soil, sunlight, and careful tending. So too with the blessings that God places in our lives. They are not meant to lie dormant, to be admired from afar, or to be wielded solely for self-glorification. They are meant to be planted, nurtured, and directed toward a higher purpose, a divine calling that lifts the heart, touches others, and honors the one who gives. To fail in aligning blessings with purpose is to let them wither into pride, a shadow of what they could have been, a whisper of vanity where there should have been a song of service. We pray in the quiet of the morning that God will give us eyes that see purpose before profit, hands that give before they take, hearts that serve before they celebrate. For blessings, when left to the devices of ego, become monuments to self, rather than instruments of grace. They lose their sacredness when they are carried only to elevate our image or protect our comfort. The world may applaud, yes, but applause is fleeting, and the heart knows the hollowness of achievements unanchored in divine intention. To align blessings with purpose is to recognize that everything we have is entrusted, not earned. Even when our hands have labored, even when our minds have dreamed, even when our voices have spoken, every gift we possess first passed through God's hands. The talent we cherish, the opportunity we embrace, the success we celebrate, each is a trust, a divine assignment that calls for responsibility beyond our personal gain. When we forget this, we fall into the subtle snare of pride, and blessings become chains instead of wings. Purpose is the compass that guides the use of blessings. It asks the hard questions. Why was I given this gift? Who am I meant to serve with it? How can it reflect God's goodness rather than my ego? These questions are not easy. They demand reflection, humility, and courage. They demand that we look past the glitter of success and see the landscape of need around us. They demand that we remember the lessons of our journey, the nights of struggle, the hands that reached out to lift us, the prayers whispered when hope was thin. And in remembering, we understand that our blessings are not ends in themselves, they are beginnings. Pride, however, is the deceiver. It dresses itself as confidence, as self-assurance, as deserved recognition. It whispers that the gifts we have are proof of our superiority, that our achievements are evidence of our power, that our comfort is confirmation of our worth. And in listening to pride, we misalign blessings with purpose. We turn instruments of service into trophies of self. We turn abundance into arrogance. We turn favor into folly. And all the while the soul drifts, unaware, from the divine path it was meant to walk. Alignment with purpose requires vision. It requires a lens that looks beyond the self, beyond immediate gratification, beyond the applause of the crowd. It is vision that sees the ripple effect of a single gift, the chain reaction of a single act, the eternal echo of a single choice. A blessing is powerful when it touches not just the receiver but the world around them, when it heals, uplifts, and empowers beyond personal gain, when it becomes a tool for transformation rather than decoration for the ego. This alignment demands intentionality. Blessings do not automatically serve their highest purpose. They must be tended like a garden. We must water them with prayer, nurture them with humility, shield them from the weeds of pride and selfishness, and guide them with discernment. Every decision about how to use a gift, how to spend influence, how to wield opportunity is a test of alignment. The purpose of a blessing is fulfilled not when it is consumed, but when it is shared, multiplied, and directed toward God's vision for the world. To align blessings with purpose is also to recognize their role in the lives of others. Every gift has a potential far beyond our own needs. Money, talent, influence, wisdom, they are meant to lift others, to fill gaps where the world is empty, to bring comfort to the weary and hope to the despairing. When blessings serve only self, they stagnate. When blessings serve a higher calling, they flow like rivers, reaching corners we never imagined, carrying life, light, and love in their current. The practice of alignment requires humility. Humility reminds us that we are not the source of the blessing, only the steward. It teaches us that success is not a destination but a responsibility. It prevents pride from twisting gratitude into entitlement. It softens the heart so that it may receive guidance, correction, and inspiration from God and from others. Without humility, even the noblest gift can be distorted. Without humility, purpose is easily replaced by pride. Discipline is also essential. Aligning blessings with purpose is not a one-time act. It is a lifetime commitment. It requires constant self-examination. Am I using this gift to glorify God or myself? Am I lifting others as I rise? Am I nurturing the soul alongside the success? Discipline keeps the heart honest, the mind focused, and the spirit resilient against the subtle seductions of pride and self-centeredness. There will be moments when pride tempts us to misuse blessings, when recognition seduces us into self-aggrandizement, when wealth persuades us to forget responsibility, when power whispers that control is more important than service. These are the moments when alignment is tested. These are the moments when the heart must bow, when the mind must listen, when the soul must kneel in humility. It is in these moments that the difference between purpose and pride becomes clear. Prayer is the tool that maintains alignment. In prayer we lay our gifts at God's feet, asking for direction, wisdom, and perspective. We remind ourselves that blessings are not for boasting but for serving. We reaffirm that our ultimate goal is not comfort or admiration, but obedience, integrity, and love. Prayer roots us in the divine intention behind every blessing, anchoring us against the tides of self-centered temptation. Community strengthens alignment, surrounding ourselves with voices that speak truth, that hold us accountable, that remind us of our mission, keeps blessings on their intended path. Mentors, friends, family, and fellow believers are mirrors and guides, reflecting back where pride threatens to take hold and where purpose can shine brighter. In community, blessings are not solitary trophies. They become instruments of collective transformation. History offers countless examples of blessings misaligned with purpose. Those who amassed wealth but ignored the suffering around them. Those who gained influence but abandoned integrity. Those who achieved renown but lost their souls in the process. In each case, the gifts were not the problem. It was the misalignment with God's purpose. Blessings, when disconnected from divine intent, can magnify flaws, amplify pride, and deepen distance from the heart of God. Conversely, history also offers examples of blessings perfectly aligned with purpose. The person who uses wealth to educate the forgotten, the leader who wields influence to uplift the oppressed, the artist who channels talent to inspire, heal, and awaken the spirit, the visionary who turns opportunity into service. In each case, the blessings magnified good, multiplied love, and reflected the divine hand behind them. Alignment transforms what could have been mere possession into profound legacy. To walk in this alignment is to live intentionally. It is to measure success not by what is gained, but by what is given. It is to evaluate achievements not by applause, but by impact. It is to honor blessings not by display, but by service. And in this living, the soul finds fulfillment far deeper than material satisfaction, far richer than fleeting recognition, far more lasting than applause. Ultimately, aligning blessings with purpose is an act of worship. It is an acknowledgement that God's gifts are sacred, that life is entrusted, and that every opportunity carries a responsibility higher than personal ambition. It is a commitment to use what we have been given not to elevate ourselves above others, but to lift others into the light. It is a promise that blessings will be conduits of love, channels of mercy, and instruments of divine will. We pray each day for this alignment. We pray that our blessings will never feed pride, inflate ego, or distract from God's mission. We pray that every gift will become a tool for transformation, every favor a platform for service, every opportunity a chance to glorify the giver. We pray for wisdom to see purpose before comfort, courage to act with intention, and humility to remember that all we have is entrusted, never owned. When blessings are aligned with purpose, life takes on a sacred rhythm. Every action resonates with meaning. Every success carries responsibility. Every gift becomes a force for good. Pride loses its grip. Vanity loses its appeal. And the soul, once tempted to lift itself above God, now bends humbly in obedience and gratitude, carrying blessings not as trophies but as torches, illuminating the path for others to follow. And so we walk, we pray, we act, we serve, knowing that true fulfillment comes not in what we amass, but in what we release, not in what we display, but in what we dedicate, not in what we achieve, but in how we use it to honor God, uplift humanity, and remain true to the calling that breathes life into every blessing. For blessings without purpose are fleeting. Blessings with purpose are eternal. They are the melody of the soul, the echo of divine love, the proof that what we receive is never truly ours until it serves the world and honors the one who gives.